Why doesn't Facebook do this? I know that Zuckerberg has said, and I take him at face value, that he, I do actually in this way, that he is a kind of old-fashioned liberal who doesn't like to censor. He has, but he, like, why wouldn't a company like that take the stand that you have taken, which is pretty rooted in American traditional political custom, for free speech?
My understanding is that Zuckerberg spent $400 million in the last election, nominally in a get-out-the-vote campaign, but really fundamentally in support of Democrats. Is that accurate or not accurate?
That is accurate. Yes.
Does that sound unbiased to you?
No, it doesn't.
Yes.
So you don't see hope that Facebook will approach this as a non-aligned arbiter? You've allowed Donald Trump back on Twitter. He hasn't taken you up on your offer because he's got his own thing.
Right.
Do you think he will go back on Twitter?
Well, that's obviously up to him. My job is to, I take the freedom of speech just very seriously. So it's. I didn't vote for Donald Trump. I actually voted for Biden. Not saying I'm a huge fan of Biden, because I would think that would probably be inaccurate. But we have difficult choices to make in these presidential elections. It's not. I would prefer, frankly, that we put someone, just a normal person, as president, a normal person with common sense, and whose values are smack in the middle of the country. Center of the normal distribution, and I think that would be great. I think we have made maybe being president not that much fun, to be totally frank.
I misspoke. It was a $7 billion investment for a plant that makes 1 million cars a year that makes $15 billion a year in profits. So you invest $7 billion and you make $15 billion a year. Who does that? And for a plant that makes, things, manufacturing. And so the way this is accomplished is, so you're doing it with casting right now. And casting half of the car, and you're going to soon cast the other half of the car. And other companies, why don't they try? Why don't they try to do what we're doing? In fact, one of the executives of another automobile company wanted me to introduce her to you. And you did that once at a meeting, and now she wants to come visit with her director of engineering at our plant in Austin. And I presume when I ask you, you're going to say, yeah, bring her on, because you innovate so fast. By the time anyone copies what we're doing, we're on to something else. What else is there? When you're casting, what else is there that enables us to make it cheaper? Are we eliminating a lot of other parts? Are we eliminating functions? What are we doing to do that? How would we sell a car that's so cheap?
I think the full explanation, or at least an accurate explanation, would take a long time, because at first approximation, a car is made of 10,000 unique parts and process steps. And Tesla is really, I think at this point, probably the best at manufacturing in the auto industry, which I think what nobody was expecting.
Probably in the history of the world.
Probably.
So all of a sudden AI is everywhere. People who weren't quite sure what it was are playing with it on their phones. Is that good or bad?
Yeah, so I've been thinking about AI for a long time, since I was in college, really. It was one of the things the sort of 4 or 5 things I thought would really affect the future dramatically. It is fundamentally profound in that the smartest creatures, as far as we know, on this earth are humans, is our defining characteristic.
Yes.
We're obviously weaker than, say, chimpanzees, and less agile, but we are smarter. So now what happens when something vastly smarter than the smartest person comes along in silicon form? It's very difficult to predict what will happen in that circumstance. It's called the singularity. It's a singularity like a black hole, because you don't know what happens after that. It's hard to predict. So I think we should be cautious with AI, and I think there should be some government oversight, because it affects it's a danger to the public. And so when you have things that are a danger to the public, like let's say so food and drugs. That's why we have the Food and Drug Administration and the Federal Aviation Administration, the FCC. We have these agencies to oversee things that affect the public, where there could be public harm. And you don't want companies cutting corners on safety and then having people suffer as a result. So that's why I've actually for a long time been a strong advocate of AI regulation. So that I think regulation is, it's not fun to be regulated. It's somewhat arduous to be regulated. I have a lot of experience with regulated industries because obviously automotive is highly regulated. You could fill this room with all the regulations that are required for a production car just in the United States, and then there's a whole different set of regulations in Europe and China and the rest of the world. So very familiar with being overseen by a lot of regulators. And the same thing is true with rockets. You can't just willy-nilly, shoot rockets off, not big ones anyway, because the FAA oversees that. And then even to get a launch license, there are probably half a dozen or more federal agencies that need to approve it, plus state agencies. So I've been through so many regulatory situations, it's insane. And sometimes people think I'm some sort of like regulatory maverick that sort of defies regulators on a regular basis, but this is actually not the case. Once in a blue moon, rarely I will disagree with regulators, but the vast majority of the time, my companies agree with the regulations and comply. Anyway, so I think we should take this seriously, and we should have a regulatory agency. I think it needs to start with a group that initially seeks insight into AI, then solicits opinion from industry, and then has proposed rulemaking, and then those rules, will probably, hopefully, grudgingly be accepted by the major players in AI, and I think we'll have a better chance of advanced AI being beneficial to humanity in that circumstance.
How do you manage this all, man? You do so many things, and just managing a single one of the companies that you do is a gargantuan task. So how do you even manage all this on a day-to-day basis?
I mean, with great difficulty. I mean, I work a lot, and I have to say the last 6 months have been extra difficult because of the Twitter workload. I think things are reasonably stable at Twitter at this point. Obviously, Linda Yaccarino has joined, and I think she'll be a big help. And so I'll still be spending a fair bit of time at Twitter, but it won't be occupying as much time. Now that we're sort of financially more or less stable, it's not like an emergency situation. But we still want to rapidly improve the product, especially on the video side. And there's a lot of great things that are going to come out. Obviously, payments down the road, maybe later this year, and improving the direct message stuff. Obviously, enabling full encryption and video and voice calls, and just basically solving, if there's something you want to do, you can do it on this sort of X everything app, or you can leave easily and do it somewhere else.